This is today's news. The latest Soyuz launch just delivered the ISS new crew members in 3 hours. It used to take days. A 3-person crew successfully reached the International Space Station on Wednesday aboard a Russian rocket after the fastest ever journey from Earth of just over 3 hours. Kindly support my Patreon account because YouTube has again demonetized my channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. Just over 3 hours. The mission of the Soyuz spacecraft carrying 2 Russian cosmonauts and 1 NASA astronaut was of immense importance to Russia's space agency Roscosmos, coming as a SpaceX program relaunches crewed flight from the US and ignites fresh talks of a space race between Russia and the US. Roscosmos said a new record for flights to the International Space Station was set. The total time from launch to docking of the Soyuz MS-17 was 3 hours and 3 minutes. Roscosmos has had the job of ferrying U.S. astronauts, as we know, to the ISS since the retirement of the space shuttle back in 2011. Sergei Ryzhikov and Sergei Kudzverkov of Roscosmos and NASA's Kathleen Rubins launched from the Russian-operated Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan at 5:45 GMT on Wednesday morning. Journey to the ISS usually takes around 6 hours, a time that was a vast improvement on the 2-day flights that prevailed prior to 2013. Wednesday's crew journeyed even beat the fastest time for missions just carrying supplies to the station. Only an uncrewed Progress cargo ship has previously used this profile, which requires just 2 orbits before docking onto the ISS. Incredibly lucky, the launch is sandwiched between 2 SpaceX missions, the first crewed space flights to the ISS under NASA's aegis since 2011, before May 30th when US astronauts Robert Behnken and Doug Hurley arrived at the ISS courtesy of Cars to Rockets tycoon Elon Musk. Russia and Baikonur had enjoyed a lucrative monopoly on crewed missions to the ISS, not so anymore. But their Dragon Endeavour craft only docked successfully with the ISS about 19 hours after reaching orbit. The NASA duo returned safely August 2nd, and a fresh SpaceX launch, this time anticipated a full-length half-year mission to the space station, is expected next month. The emergence of private players, SpaceX and Boeing, part of NASA's commercial crew program, fueled talks of a new space race between a number of countries, but the men and women who fly to the space station played down talk of competition and focused instead on space travel's ability to bring rival nations together for a common cause. Speaking at a pre-launch press conference Tuesday, Rubins did not directly reference the SpaceX flight when asked how she felt to be on board during a new era in space exploration. She said, "We don't get to choose our launch date or what occurs on station, but certainly I feel incredibly lucky to be on station when these events are happening." This is what she, as an American astronaut, said. Stringent precautions, including tighter quarantine and mask wearing before launch, have been taken due to the coronavirus pandemic, but the astronauts and space officials rejected any concerns about a risk to infection onto the ISS. Rubin said, who is a microbiologist, by the way, who researched the deadly Ebola virus before she began training as an astronaut, said, "We have a very strict quarantine, almost from March to my perception, she said. Too US-centric, Ryzhikov, a 46-year-old former military pilot from Russia, for the Russian cosmonaut, has spent 173 days in space compared to Rubin's 115, while Kudzverkov, 37, is flying for the first time. On the eve of the launch, Ryzhikov expressed sadness over ongoing fighting in Nagorno-Karabakh in Azerbaijan, as we know, and he hopes the example of the ISS could help spread love, friendship, and comradeship. The ISS, which has been permanently occupied since 2000, which, as we know, if you see a couple of videos back, has an air leak, and the oxygen supplied to the Russian section of that module has failed altogether. Now, because from what the Russians say, okay, it's past its date. It's just like an old piece of, an old car. So this was only supposed to be used for 15 years. It's now being used for 20 years, the ISS. So it's been permanently occupied since the year 2000. It's been a rare example of cooperation between between Russia and the US. Rogozin on Monday said he did not envisage Moscow participating on a large scale in the NASA-led moon orbiting station known as the Gateway. The proposed new station is too US-centric, he said. The Russian space program has suffered a series, as we know, of reverses in recent years, most notably the failure of the Soyuz rocket in 2018, just minutes after blastoff, the first such incident in the history of post-Soviet space travel. The two astronauts on board were not hurt, thank goodness. This is from Agence France Presse, and it's on Science Alert by Christopher Rickleton. Please leave your comments, thank you. So that's having the time from 6 hours to 3 hours. That's very good. Only 3 hours. It's less than a flight from London to Athens. Less to get to the ISS, so that's pretty good.